Sports Limelight, episode 45. Good evening, Drew.
Good evening, Bill. That live cut of Limelight sounded familiar.
It sure did, and for a good reason. That was from the Time Machine tour.
Oh, nice.
Of course, that DVD was made from their Cleveland stop, but Rush is so great that they'll play you a perfect version of the song every time, so when they're all perfect, they're all the same. You can't tell when they were recorded. Just like you can't tell if that was from last year or 30 years ago.
Yeah, sounded like it was from Phoenix. What do we got on our plate tonight, Bill?
We have Michael Vick's comments about the Eagles and wanting to be a dynasty. We have Ichiro Suzuki to the Yankees. Some early training camp news. A barrage of things for the Giants in the last 24 hours or so.
All right.
And we'll see what else we can squeeze in tonight with our 15
Sounds
minutes
hot.
or less guarantee. You mean like squeezing a hot pizza into an oven?
Right.
Or I guess you'd be squeezing the pizza out because if it's hot, it's already been cooked.
Yeah.
Wow.
Sorry, Mom.
We'll start with the bad. Terrell Thomas, a third ACL injury for him, his first one being in college in 2005, second one last year, and then this 2 days ago left with a knee issue, and sure enough, partially torn ACL, they're saying this time. They won't get the full extent of the damage until they actually go in there to operate, but not looking good, so sad for Terrell Thomas, the person. I was really rooting for him to come back strong.
Yeah, man, that's a bummer, especially what happened last year. Missed the whole season, right?
Yeah. Now, unlike last year, I will say I wasn't fazed by this. Like, it didn't surprise me. And that's sad, too, because, second straight season of tearing your ACL.
Right.
But I'm not that worried compared to last year. Last year, it was like the sky was falling to me with this, along with a bunch of other injuries at the same time. But this year, they went a year without him, just won the Super Bowl. And Jerry Reese, and Reese We Trust, added a lot of depth to the defensive backfield, almost like he saw another season like this coming. So, now there's the opportunity for Prince Amukamara in his second year and, having a full training camp this time.
Now, not too long ago, you did a Sports Limelight Extra on the season after Super Bowl. But I wanted to ask you, what is your expectations this season? I know you guys haven't had too much success after Super Bowl, but
the Giants don't do Super Bowl defenses thus far.
It's a different team than those other three. So what are you expecting?
What's funny? I can just picture it now, knowing the way I am. I'll sit here today, July 31st, and say, 9-7, hopefully squeeze into the playoffs again, probably lose in the divisional round or so. And that's the big picture look is pessimism. Yet when the games are about to be played, like every week, as we did last year, every week throughout the playoffs, I will pick the Giants to win every week. So in the macro view, pessimistic. In the micro view, optimistic. Yeah.
I read an article and it highlighted some of Tom Coughlin's comments or speeches coming into this season, and there's one that I really liked. It was he told his team now that last year's squad was a tale of two teams, and he wanted to instill or ask his players, which team do you want to be? The team that went 7-7 or the team that won 6 in a row?
I like that. Yeah, the motto for this year really is sustain.
Yeah, I mean,
maintain.
Just because you won the Super Bowl or that just because they won the Super Bowl doesn't mean that we're going to come out firing on all cylinders. It's what you want. It's what the team wants to do.
Right. And Eli Manning has said it's not how you start, but how you finish. But you don't want to make it that difficult on yourself either, down to your last breath, so to speak.
Right.
Now, do you have an early prediction on the Bills season, if we may flip the tables here?
Well, the main outlook I can see is it's going to get better. I don't see them getting worse. I mean, it's like I said, they're going to grow and come together more as a team, so I don't think they're over the hump yet, but I think they'll do some more surprising like they did last season, hopefully.
I agree. It won't be as surprising because they're not sneaking up on teams the way they did last year. Like going in, teams will know they're playing a legitimate threat. Now, do you see the rest of the AFC East as more difficult or less difficult than they were last year?
I say it's going to be more difficult for the Bills to succeed in that division because you got Ryan Tannehill for the Dolphins. He's looking pretty good. I heard he's doing pretty strong there in the camps. And, I mean, who knows what Sanchez and Tebow end up doing with that team. And of course, Tom Brady and the Patriots, you have to expect them to win that division. So it's not looking good for the Bills in that aspect, but maybe we can sneak in the second wild card in there.
Yeah, there might be a situation where it takes both wild cards from the same division. Mm-hmm. Of course, then Pittsburgh and Baltimore would have something to say about that.
Of course they do.
Tough competition in the AFC.
Yeah.
Going back to the Giants, if I may, a couple other items of news. Tyler Sash suspended 4 games for violating the substance abuse policy. His side of the story is it was anxiety medication he was taking in the offseason, so we'll see how that turns out. I think he's going to appeal. And Giants running back Andre Brown won his appeal in a similar type of situation. So maybe that's a good omen for Sash.
All right. Speaking of running backs, who do you feel is going to come up and become the backup to Ahmad Bradshaw?
Well, I think it's David Wilson's job to lose, obviously being a first-round pick, and they really like his shiftiness. Mm-hmm. DJ Ware and Darrell Scott are really on notice now. They have to show something to make the roster.
Right.
Andre Brown as well. It's a pretty deep backfield. So I think this could be like 2007, where Ryan Grant was cut in camp and caught on with the Packers and became a 1,000-yard back.
Right.
I think someone's going to get cut and is going to catch on elsewhere and be successful.
Well, I think no matter who they choose or who gets what, I think you're going to see DJ Ware on a lot of screens and draws.
Of course. Oh, Gilbride. It might just work once or twice, too, this year.
How do you view the NFC East?
All 3 teams better. All 3 opponents of the Giants better. Redskins, of course, Griffin, and adding, a few role players here and there to keep the team competitive and give Griffin weapons to use.
How about the Cowboys?
About the same, a little better on defense. They love their draft pick that they traded up to get, right? The cornerback that we discussed post-draft here with Dallas when he came on.
That's right.
And the Eagles, well, they're poised to become a dynasty, according to Michael Vick, right?
Great transition, Bill.
Now, I'm not going to go too harsh on him here because I have a feeling he was asked in such a manner, yes, we want to be a dynasty. And that leads us to...
not 1, not 2, not 3.
Yeah, at least he stopped before making that kind of soundbite. Now, Drew, that brings up an interesting question for us. What, to you, makes a dynasty?
In my book, or in how I have perceived sports and dynasties, I think the number of championships must be at least half of in a span of years. So 2 and 4 or 3 and 6, I would consider a dynasty.
I like that. And a minimum of 2 then?
I think a minimum of 2 would have to be considered a dynasty.
Okay. Mine's a little more strict. I think you need a minimum of 3.
Okay.
And there are only 3 dynasties in the Super Bowl era. You kind of do have to give an asterisk to the Packers as the 4th, Packers in the 60s, because that was right before... the Super Bowl began. They won a few others in the early 60s.
Right.
So yeah, we'll call the Packers of the 60s 1, Steelers of the 70s 2. They had 4 in 6 years.
Okay.
49ers of the 80s were the 3rd dynasty.
I see 2 more. Yeah, I see 2 more coming.
Well, here's how it's only 1. Cowboys of the 90s, 3 and 4 years. That's a dynasty.
Okay.
And the Patriots were cheating, so no dynasty.
Oh, I see. Nice.
So I like your ratio there of... I'll give the 49ers the benefit of the doubt, 4 and 9 years, because it was mostly the same players, at least Joe Montana, for all 4 of those.
Okay.
And Steve Young for the 5th.
Yeah, I think at least 4 in a span of 10 years or, within a decade's time.
Yeah.
It's probably...
Like if you get a 4th, you can have a little more leeway in how much time you can do it in.
Right. Yeah, because that's so rare.
Yeah.
Now, what about the anti-dynasty? What about, like, the Bills?
Ooh.
Going to 4 Super Bowls in a row, but losing them all.
And that leads us to another interesting topic we've thought about, which is exchange rates in sports. How many, prestige-wise for a franchise, is there any number of Super Bowl appearances that could equal 1 Super Bowl win, or any number of championship round appearances that equal a Super Bowl appearance, and so forth?
Well, I think the apex, or the number 1 on the scale, would be winning a Super Bowl. I don't think anything... no matter what you do, can match that.
Agreed. It's like how you can't divide by 0.
Exactly.
There's no match for that.
Now, making a Super Bowl in itself is quite the accomplishment because you're the best in your specific conference. So I would say making a Super Bowl would be equivalent to winning. I think it goes, it gets larger as you go down the scale. One Super Bowl appearance would probably be worth 2 championship round appearances. And then, 1 championship round equals 2 divisional rounds. So
by the time you get down to the divisional round appearances, it's I think of the Atlanta Falcons in that. Like, they always seem to make it that far, but never farther. And in the NFL, that's a good season, but that's really all it is. A couple weeks ago at a friend's house, talking about the NBA and the Boston Celtics of this era, my friend Nick said that they're not a dynasty, and one of the other guys disagreed and cited all the times they made it to the conference finals. And while that's 4 teams make the conference finals every year, that's not that special. And no one remembers the 4 teams every year that were in that round. And, if you want to go back further rounds in the NBA, it's even more ridiculous because more than half the teams make the playoffs.
Yeah.
So making the playoffs isn't really that special. You better make the playoffs in the NBA.
Right. Well, nobody remembers the loser of anything.
Yeah.
Especially the conference finals, a conference championship round. So I think winning a specific round is, 2 or 3 times better than losing one in terms of what equals that.
And going back to the 1990s Bills for this, although they don't get the recognition, they're an exception in that I would say they're better than a lot of teams that won a Super Bowl.
Yeah, I agree. There's been a lot of Super Bowl losers that could have won a Super Bowl in any other year.
Yeah. Now, besides the Bills, who would you say was the second best team to lose a Super Bowl?
The Patriots of 06? The Patriots of 07?
Yeah. It's an easy one, huh?
Yeah.
Undefeated.
And the Patriots of 2011?
13-3.
There was a season where the Niners went 15-1 and their opponent went 14-2. I think that was the Dolphins in 84. And that obviously that Dolphins team probably could have beaten any other team in the league that year or Super Bowl.
Yeah.
In previous years, I think.
Well, Drew, we're actually going to break our 15 minutes or less guarantee for this very special episode. Coming back, a little more on this exchange rates topic. I want to turn it towards individual exchange rates, like for individual players in sports.
All right.
Sports Limelight, episode 45 continuing. You're listening to another track from Clockwork Angels. This one is 7 Cities of Gold, one of your favorites, Drew.
I like it. Good choice, Bill.
We'll be back. Please click part 2.
Oh, and please turn your record over into side B.